How's it going, ladies and bruises? Up, Bobby Sixkilla, and welcome back to Root Double. We're kind of in the middle of a conversation here because I kind of left it partway through because I couldn't find a good place to end the episode. Everything seems pretty good at the moment. We've got AD. None of us are dying of radiation poisoning. We put the majority of the fires out because we got the sprinkler system on. You know, all in all, things are looking up. Better than they have done in quite some time. What's your tongue, Mortabe? It's a real shame. If I were a man, I'd never pass up someone so pretty, gallant, and competent like you. Mr. Hiyama, please don't join in on this too. A thought suddenly crossed Watase's mind as he heard that conversation. True, she really is beautiful. But like Jun said, she definitely had a harsh attitude to her that could turn men away. You can understand why in this situation, but he had a hard time imagining what Kazami was like in her day-to-day life. I wonder what she looks like in normal clothes, though I'd say her uniform suits you better than any fashionable clothes or accessories ever could. Watase suddenly remembered something at that moment. Oh yeah, speaking of accessories, Watase reached into his pocket and pulled out the locket with the broken chain. Man, I'd forgotten about that. He spotted it and picked it up by chance when Kazami had saved him back in Area 3. I've got to give this back to her. Watase pinched the locket as he thought this. It opened when he did, revealing a photo inside. It was a picture of a sour-faced man with a somewhat stern look in his eyes. Who's this guy? Something about his face pisses me off for some reason. Oh, I bet it's me. As Watase pondered this. Captain? That locket, why do you have it? Oh, sorry, I found it a while back, but I forgot to return it to you. Please give it back. Whoa. Kazami snatched the locket away from Watase before he even had a time to say anything. You saw what was inside, didn't you? What are you getting so angry for? Carrying around a photo of your boyfriend's no big deal. Wait, a boyfriend? Intriguing. Could you show it to us? No, that's an absolute negative. Oh my, quite a stubborn one. Though I didn't expect you to be so old-fashioned as to carry a locket around. That's because she hasn't taken it off in years. It's just his trademark. Kazami furrowed her eyebrows at that last part. Mortabe, I believe I told you to refer to me as Lieutenant when we're on duty. What's all this sis business about? You certainly don't look like sisters and your last names are different. Oh, well, you see, we've lived real close to each other ever since I was a kid, so it's a habit of mine. That said, I keep telling you to keep your personal affairs out of work, but as you see... Oh, come on, I can't do that during a break, right, sis? How many times must I tell you? Sheesh. Kazami gave an exasperated sigh, and the rest of the group laughed. It was the first time since they'd arrived at this facility. And it was the first time since Watase woke up that they'd ever had a moment of peace. But their tranquility didn't last long. For the sound of Ukita's voice soon broke them all back to reality. Hey, the sprinkler system's functioning normally. It should be safe for us to go back down now. Watase looked over to see Ukita running towards the rest of them. And at that very moment, Yudi's eyes opened. Huh? Where am I? Oh, she's awake, thank goodness. Yudi sat up and looked around in confusion. It didn't appear there was anything wrong with her body. You inhaled some gas and passed out, but you're okay now. Your captain carried you and ran all the way here, don't you remember? Huh? Yudi looked back and forth between Watase and Jun with a bewildered look on her face. Thank you very much. They nervously thanked them. Oh, it was nothing. Both you and Jun were light after all. More importantly, think you can walk? Yes, I think I'll be fine. Alright, now that Miss Yudi's awake, let's discuss what to do next. Kazami took out her PDA and began her explanation. First, this is our current position, and the room that the ladder leads down to is this room right here in B1 of Area 3's outer ring. Now that the fires in Labo have been put out, our search has become all the safer for it, and we can move around more than we could before. But there's a high probability that any AD located in the areas previously engulfed in fire have been destroyed. True, but that makes things harder for us. They were down to only one AD ampule right now, but they'd almost searched the entirety of areas 1 to 4. I hope we can expand our search to area 5, but we don't have the right card. Right, we still have yet to locate a level 5 security card. Area 4 is as far as we can go for now. Why don't we look for a card in a place we haven't searched yet? In that case... Watase touched the PDA, causing the screen's display to switch. Why don't we try the outer ring here first? Now that the gas is gone, and we're here anyway, it's worth a shot. True, you searched it in a hurry, so you didn't find out if there was a card there or not. The only other place is B2 of Area 4's outer ring, the place where we came across Louise, right? Yeah, and the inner ring's already contaminated. so let's search those 2 blocks. The odds are slim, but we don't have a better option. Right. But I wouldn't say our chances are that bad. There may have been some Area 5 researchers who went through Area 4 to evacuate. It wouldn't be surprising for at least one of them to have dropped their card during all that chaos this morning. I see. And there was still hope. Starting up the sprinkler system was nothing more than a way of increasing the search field. In the end, it didn't change that the group needed to find survivors in AD. And also a level 5 card to progress onwards, and an exit. Very well then. Everyone, I apologise to have to end your rest here, but let's press on just a little bit more. Alright, the 3 survivors all gave a firm nod. Everyone's probably getting exhausted, but no one showed any signs of that on their faces. It seems the prior incident has managed to bring the group closer together. But don't push yourself, guys. Say something if you're not feeling well. Ease up, we'll be fine. The group headed toward the ladder while feeling a sense of trust behind those words. They went out into the hall to find that all of the smoke, fire, and gas were gone. The sprinkler system stuff has all been drained now, so there's no problem. Okay, let's check the gates in the area first. Everyone, please be cautious about the possibility of leftover gas for now. If anything smells even the slightest bit strange, please get out of there. Everyone nodded. The group split up and began searching the area. But then Jun spoke up. Hold on, Captain. Do you know where the room that was on fire is? Yeah, it was that one further down over there. What about it? Do you mind helping me search it? I want to play it safe just in case something happens. Watase felt a slight hint of nervousness in Jun's voice. Well, it hasn't been that long since she fainted. No, maybe the reason she was trying to be so proactive was in order to get rid of the fear she still felt from the incident. Once he realised what she was thinking, Watase nodded. Sure, but be careful, there might still be some gas there. Roger. Watase and Jun fired themselves up and went into the room. It had completely burned to a crisp. Jun looked around the scorched room and quietly spoke. Looks like the fire's been completely put out, but still, any card that was in here must have burned to ashes. Watase was about to leave the room, but spotted some documents at his feet before he could. They were sopping wet from the sprinkler's extinguishing agents, so the letters were blurred, but he could still read the word disaster on the front. Huh, what's this? Let me see. Watase and Jun picked it up and drew their heads close so they could look over it together. Labo Fire Incident, July 10th, 2021. All relevant parties are most likely already aware of the fire that occurred in this facility 3 days ago, July 7th, 2021. Although the worst possible outcome was averted at the last moment, there were inadequacies found in multiple too blurred to make out. This document contains a compilation of the problems hinted at by this incident. The cause of the fire, text too blurred to make out, of Senior Fellow S had been appointed as an administrator of text too blurred to make out. As a result, he had quite a great number of opportunities to come into contact with the research results, text too blurred to make out. And about 3 months later, text too blurred to make out, he took the power generator gasoline stored, text too blurred to make out, text too blurred to make out, set them all on fire and intentionally caused the text too blurred to make out. He also text blurred. There is nothing more than a guess, seeing blurred is quite high. Furthermore, these research results, blurred, designated as N amongst blurred. Also, while this is not directly blurred, 2 children infiltrated the facility on the day of the accident at a most unfortunate time, blurred. The children have found and exploited a hole in our security. This is quite frankly the epitome of carelessness for our security systems, and 2 lives were lost as a result. We must all learn a lesson from this incident. Strengthening blurred Y alone doesn't guarantee us any safety whatsoever. There is an urgent need to have the specifications of a case N reviewed and for the security systems to be enhanced. Otherwise, we may foresee yet another repeat of this tragedy. Blurred, MIC, and Atomic and Biological Organization Security Chief Isao Kawada. It appeared to be a record regarding a fire that had happened in this facility in the past. 2021. Jun muttered that in a grim voice. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it's 2030 now, right? Yeah, it was 9 years ago, huh? Do you remember that fire at all? Well, I was in elementary school at the time, but yeah, I vaguely remember hearing about it. I think a kid died, but it was the uproar that happened after the fire rather than the fire itself that was more memorable. What do you mean? That kid was taken to hospital afterwards and died, but there were all these scandalous stories about it at first. Stuff like the kid died of radiation exposure or the fire caused a radiation leak. What? Well, there was only a few people who made such a big fuss out of it, and the stories were soon dismissed as rumours, but the part about the kid dying is true. And it sure isn't easy to think about. Yeah, 2021 was a real bad year. Thanks. Jin looked back at the report. The fact that they said the worst possible outcome was averted means that a case N probably didn't happen back then. The disaster did end up repeating itself anyway. Watase and Jun's voice were tinged with bitterness. The security systems must never have been enhanced. Well, let's make sure that at least no more victims this time around. Damn straight, we'll save everyone and get the hell out of here. Watase and Jun nodded at each other and left the room. A thought crossed Watase's mind as he ran through the Area 4 connecting passageway. Watabe's absolutely right. Just because the sprinkler system's finally on doesn't mean the survivors are safe. If they'd been in an area that had been on fire up until a few minutes ago, there was a big chance they'd already been burned to death. The fear of being cornered by flames are now being replaced with the fear that the flames had already cornered someone else. I just hope the survivors escaped to Area 5. So if nothing else, I hope that we can at least find a card in Area 4. For us to finally go into a new area only to find bodies, yeah, I'd rather not have that outcome. Everyone else is probably thinking the same. The group said nothing and continued running down the halls. They soon arrived at B2 of Area 4's outer ring. The hull had been horribly damaged from the flashover that had scorched it earlier. The Procyon's alarm beeped. It's reading at 5322 microsieverts. As long as they had AD in their system, all of them could probably handle that level. The hallway itself may be in terrible condition, but the room should still be intact. Let's split up and search the larger rooms, hallways, and the elevator hall. What about the inner ring? Last time we checked it was a contaminated zone. If we don't find anything here, we might have no choice but to venture there. I'll search it if it comes to that. What are you talking about? Aren't you forgetting you spent a whole hour without a proper shot of AD? Your cumulative exposure must be really high now. Consider your own body for a bit. If it comes to it, then I'll search the contaminated zone. Captain? Understood. At any rate, let's focus on searching the outer ring for now. Kazami then began rapidly issuing off orders. Captain, Miss Tsubaki Hiyama, please cover the hallways and the elevator hall. Everyone else will search the larger rooms with me. You sure the two of us will be enough? Yes, after all, I believe you've finally gotten used to this. Alright, roger that. Kazami had a point. 2 people were already enough to just take care of the hallways and elevator hall. Watase and Enna immediately got to searching the outer ring. They silently walked through the hallway. The normally loud-mouthed Enna was surprisingly quiet. Another bad thought hit Watase's mind as the silence took hold of him. What if they looked around a corner while searching for a card and instead only found a burnt corpse? Watase just stood there, stricken by that thought. Dumbass, stop thinking stupid shit like that. However, he couldn't rid his mind of that horrid fantasy. He and Enna finished searching the hallway and headed over to the elevator hall. When they approached the door... Oh, what's that smell? Enna sniffed the air. Come on, don't you smell something delicious? Enna's face had frozen over before she could finish. Just then Watase's nose took hold of that smell. His mouth started watering and his stomach started rumbling, both conditioned reflexes to that particular scent. But Watase was shuddering, because the something delicious, burnt people, that he and Enna were smelling was the scent of grilled meat. No, please no. The smell was wafting in from behind the door to the elevator hall. Don't tell me that smell is... Watase opened the door with hands that were shaking like crazy. And spotted the source of the smell. Hollow gasps escaped from Watase and Enna's mouth. Their hunger instantly turned to nausea. Is that the Hiyama? What is his name? Hiyama? Legs burnt to charcoal, melted body fat dripping to the floor, a horribly charred protection suit, a fire axe gripped firmly in the hand, rescue squad equipment. He didn't recognize their face, but he could tell with a glance that this was their other squad mate who went into the basement. Hiyama. Hiyama? A scream burst out from deep within his lungs. Hiyama, hey Hiyama! Watase ran over to him and called his name, but naturally the body didn't even twitch. He'd already known from the moment he'd seen him that it was far too late. Watase then heard voices and footsteps rapidly approaching from behind. What happened? Watase's scream had sent Kazami and Jun running over. He paid them no heed and touched Hiyama's body. He could tell how rigid the latter was even through the protection suit. It's too late, he's already dead. Watase's proclamation was followed by cries of grief. No, no. Hiyama, not you too. He could hear Jun's tearful voice echo behind him. Watase couldn't feel sad. He just searched Hiyama's body with a gloomy cloud shrouding his heart. Hiyama's legs had been bent to strange shapes at the knees. His legs were broken. He'd probably been trying to escape from the fire to the bitter end. He came across the Inferno in Area 4 and got caught on fire, and yet crawled all the way over to the elevator hall trying to cling on to whatever life he had left. And then he breathed his last at this spot. Hiyama? Watase lamented at the death of the squad mate he didn't even remember. And next to the body lying there, as if it was Hiyama's last will and testament to his squad mates, was an Area 5 card. It was a security card that read level 6. That's even better. Several minutes later, the group left the elevator hall and gathered in front of it. Ukita and Yuri had also been told of Hiyama's death. Ina remained speechless for a while, then barely managed to make out a few words. I'm sorry for your loss. Ukita gazed at Watase as his body shook in fear, then spoke. How did this ever happen? Yuri said nothing. She just quietly leaned against Jun. It's okay, Yuri. Jun gently wrapped her arms around Yuri's shoulders, but the look on her face only made Yuri more depressed. Kazami soon looked at the rest of the group with red eyes, then wrung out her voice and said, Dying in the line of duty is an unavoidable risk in this line of work. But Tachibana... Please don't say anything, Captain. Kazami looked at Watase and spoke. We can save our grief for after we rescued the survivors and gotten outside. But for now we mustn't. Her voice shook and her eyes were filled with sorrow. Watase swallowed the words on the tip of his tongue and settled for a whisper of an answer instead. Yeah. When he thought about her feelings, he realized that no words could ever console the pain that she had to be going through. You have to do the same, Mortabe. John spoke in a teary voice after Kazami called out to her. But today was the first time I ever lost a co-worker on the job. And now it's happened again. I know, but you have to hold your head up. Hi. You discarded your womanhood when you joined Sidious, remember? But sis... Jun choked back a sob. Kazami didn't scold her for calling her sis. Tachibana, Mortabe, they can't take much more of this. Even the ever firm and reliable Kazami was failing to hide her tremors in her voice. And yet here was Watase, not even sad about his co-worker's death. Goddamn it, I have to say something. But anything he said would be rubbing salt into his squad mate's wounds. Watase gritted his teeth in frustration, but then Ina whispered into his ear. What are you doing, Captain Kasasagi? You have to get a hold of yourself. Watase hesitated for a moment, then a thought came to him. That's right, I have to get a hold of myself. I have to lead Tachibana and Mortabe now. It was he, the only one not sad about Hiyama's death, who had to lead the group in Kazami's place. Despite her protests to the contrary, it was clear she was deeply saddened. Anyone would be after losing two squad mates whom they'd held so dear in just one day. But she can't show it because she needs to put on a brave face for all the survivors here. And because our mission isn't over yet. What would the survivors think if the rescue squad all broke down in sorrow and grief? Ina, Ukita and Yuri? They would definitely feel that the situation was hopeless. They'd almost certainly descend into despair. Then I have to be strong. Stronger than anyone. I must be stronger than anyone, both as a man and as the captain of this squad. Even if it was a role he knew nothing about. Even if he didn't have the confidence in his abilities because of his lack of memories. I am a rescue squad captain. I am Watase Kasasagi, the man who Tachibana and Mortabe looked up to. And the moment he thought that, a raging fire ignited in Watase's heart. A fire that had been lit by Kazami and Jun's tears as well as Ina's words. Tachibana, Mortabe, can I have a minute? Huh? The two of them walked over to Watase with forlorn steps. Watase looked at Kazami dead in the eye and spoke. We're changing leaders. I'll lead the group from this point onwards. Captain? Kazami and Jun couldn't hide their bewilderment. Oh, come on. I'm just restoring the status quo, that's all. I'll be the leader from now until you both calm down. Let me shoulder all the weight that you've been carrying so far. Anyway, just rely on me for a while, especially you, Tachibana. You've been carrying far too heavy a burden up until now. Kazami felt quiet in what appeared to be hesitation. Didn't you hear me? Then let me make it an order as serious captain. Watase clicked his heels and spoke in a sharp voice. As of this point onwards, Lieutenant Kazami Tachibana and Ensign Jun Moribei will hereby defer to Captain Watase Kasasagi's command. Those words came very naturally out of Watase's mouth. Kazami and Jun's bodies trembled. Now let me hear you say it. And like that, strength instantly returned to Kazami and Jun's eyes. They both clicked their heels and replied, "Sir, Lieutenant Kazami Tachibana deferring to Captain Watase Kasasagi's command, sir." Ensign Jun Moribei deferring to Captain's command, sir. Good. Watase smiled and gave them both a pat on the shoulder. And there you have it. Well, that was mainly for formality's sake. I'm still counting on you both to basically keep things running the way they've been so far. I still have amnesia, like it or not, but my strength and spirit are the same as they've always been. So let's work ourselves to the bone without worrying about the chain of command. He said that in the friendliest voice he could muster in an attempt to relieve the tension. But Kazami responded meekly, "Yes, please." Good. Then now that we've finally got our hands on a level 6 card, let's use it to press onwards. Hiyama left that card for us, we can't let it go to waste. John nodded quietly at that. You're right, we can't keep staying down in the dumps forever. Jun turned to the others and spoke in a voice brimming with bravado. The fires are out and we've got a card. So now we can go all the way to Area 6, we have nothing to fear. Yeah, that's the spirit. And besides, isn't your catchphrase, "Jun's the name and rescues my game"? Sheesh, I can't believe I almost forgot that. Thanks, Captain. Jun's eyes had regained their natural spark. Don't sweat it. Keeping his subordinate spirits up is a captain's job. Watase said that with a smile, then turned back to Akita and the others. Really sorry to keep you all waiting. Think you can still keep going? Yes, I'll be fine. Ready when you are. No problems here. Yes. Watase nodded when he heard their answers. Kazami then gently placed a hand on his shoulder. Thank you so much, Captain. And said that with a wide smile. One that seemed sad yet mixed with a small hint of joy. They decided to leave Hiyama's body where it was. They set his axe against the door as a gravestone of sorts, and with that the elevator hall had become his temporary tomb. And so, with Watase now leading them, the group all headed for Area 5, sorry. The card slot at B2 security gate had been incinerated, so they went up to B1, and opened the door that had remained shut up until now. Watase checked his Procyon as soon as it opened. Please. If it was a contaminated zone, then everything would have been for nothing. However, the reading was 3451 microsieverts, within the safety standard. Alright, let's go. Hurry up, guys. He's right, the security camera footage showed that Mr. Tinkawa and the others ran this way. Kazami's eyebrows twitched when she heard the survivors' names. You're right that there's a high possibility that the survivors are just up ahead. Alright, now we don't have to worry about fires anymore. We can put fighting the survivors above, and AD above all else. Jun's voice had also a trace of hope to it. Though both of them were still recovering from the shock, it seemed they were slowly returning to normal. Thank God. Watase grinned slightly and walked through the connecting passageway. And then entered Area 5. Area 5 Outer Ring, B1. The walls and ceiling were both white, marking the place as a bright and sanitary block. This place is like a whole other world compared to everywhere else we've been. Feels kind of like a hospital, doesn't it? I was just thinking that. The fact that it was overly clean and had somewhat cold atmosphere was indeed reminiscent of a hospital. Hey old man, what do they do here? This is the laboratory section where senior fellows, in other words the high level researchers, conduct experiments. This division has far more advanced equipment than we junior fellows, normal researchers that is, have in our laboratories. There's a ton of rooms here, so I guess it'd be better if we split up. Then how will the teams be divided? How about we go with virtually the same formation we used in Area 4? Moribei and Teach will be with me, Tachibana will be with the old man and Yuri. Yes, that works fine. But even though he'd been the one to suggest it, Watase was a bit concerned that Kazami wouldn't be with him. He walked over to her and whispered, Tachibana, you sure you're okay? Do not worry. More importantly than that, please take care of Moribei. Alright, then we'll search the inner ring. Roger that, we'll handle the outer ring. Roger. Then shall we go? Watase's group then headed for the inner ring right away. Oh, it's burnt. Area 5, inner ring, B1. Ina started talking to herself in a low voice as they walked down the halls. The fires are out, so it's a lot easier to search now, but... I wonder if Mr. Tinkawa and the others are okay. There was a small ring of impatience in her voice. Her concern had probably been reignited after having come across yet another body. So you really are worried about your students, aren't you? Well, of course. The fact that I'm a teacher is part of it, but Mr. Tinkawa and Miss Toba in particular are dear to me. Sounds like you get along with them real well on a personal level. Indeed, I know a teacher shouldn't have favourites, but whenever I see those two, all I can think about is what charming kids they are. I think they'd make a cute couple. It was at that point that Jun cut in. I know what you mean. Natsuhiko and Mashido were good kids. Come to think of it, didn't you say you also knew those kids we saw in the security footage, Watabe? That's right. We only just met a few days ago, but we hit it off real well. But there was something about her choice of words that caught Watase's interest. Hey, what about the other girl? You know, the one we saw earlier. That Sanomiya girl. Oh, her? Honestly, there's a lot I don't know about her myself. Why is that? You see, the thing is, she only just transferred into Rokume Academy about a week ago. Though, it looks like she became fast friends with Mr. Tinkawa and Miss Topa. I see. But why'd she run away from the rescue squad as soon as she saw them? It made even less sense when one considered that her own teacher had been with them too. So if even Teach doesn't know the answer to that, then I'd like to meet her in person and ask her what kind of girl she is. Good idea, I'd like to keep her attending school with everyone in the future as well. Alright, then why don't we do away with the chatter and make do with the searching. Damn straight. The group then picked up the pace. They checked all the rooms in the inner ring. Though this was the Senior Fellows Laboratory Division, the rooms didn't look much different from the labs and offices they'd seen in other areas. They didn't find any survivors or AD. But in the last room they visited was clearly different from every other room in the facility. Huh? Isn't this an infirmary? Seems like the place they might keep AD, don't you think? And even if they don't, we might find something useful here. Search the place. Right. The group fired themselves up and began looking through the room. As expected, there were multiple medical devices lying around. There was a medical bed, a small oxygen tank and respirator, and a blood transfusion kit. There was also something that looked like a giant closet, or a refrigerator. Could it be? Watase reached out for the closet and opened it. A cold wave blew out when he did. It seemed it was not a closet, but rather a refrigerator. Inside were bags with red liquid, each labelled A, B, O, or AB. Blood, great. Blood packets. The fridge was apparently used to store blood until it was needed for a transfusion. So this is basically a run-of-the-mill doctor's office. Like one you'd find in a hospital. But that was it, there wasn't any AD in it at all. Watase gave up and closed the fridge. Didn't they say there was heaps of extra in Area 5? How have we not found any? Find anything, Captain? Nope, nothing. We've got a respirator set up and a transfusion kit if we ever need it, but nothing we can use right now. Same here, there's a ton of empty AD ampules, but not a single full one. Jun held out an empty ampule and a medical box. The researchers and other staff most likely have taken them and run during the evacuation. Great, all that looking for nothing. Well, Natsuhiko and gang might have taken the AD that was here. If so, then that's a good sign. No, we can't be so optimistic. That doesn't necessarily mean they found enough. Just then Enna spoke up. Speaking of which, it's not AD, but I did find something good. See? Got some Chiron here? Enna showed them a tube full of medicine. The label read, Styptic Chiron? Underneath was the name of the manufacturer. Beetlejuice New Treatments. What's that? Pretty much the god of all ointments? It closes small wounds, as well it's like they're glued shut. Wow, sounds useful. Indeed. Let's all take one each. Enna said that and distributed the Chiron among the three of them. But it looks like that's the only thing we found here. Well, that's just luck for you. Anyway, let's get back to the outer ring, pronto. Yes, let's. The group then left the infirmary. Watase group went back to the outer ring through the connecting passageway. And when they got there, they heard the sound of Kazami's group voices echoing in the hallway. I keep telling you it's too dangerous to drink that. But my thirst is at its limits. Honestly, it's getting tough for me too. It seems that they were arguing about something, so Watase's group ran over and intervened. What's going on? Did you find some AD? Captain, no, we didn't find the AD or survivors, but we found this. Ukita then showed the rest of the group that what he held between his arms. There were 6 plastic 500ml bottles that read distilled water. Just enough for everyone. Water? You found water? Yeah, so it appears to be water meant for mixing with medicine. They've been telling him not to drink it because there's a possibility it'll give us radiation exposure from the inside. However, everyone gulped when they saw water. Just as Ukita and Yuri said, their throats were parched like a desert. True, they couldn't be sure if it was safe to drink, but It's probably risky, but I want to drink it anyway. You too? No, I think she's right. In fact, we found these in a metal medicine cabinet, so the possibility that they've been contaminated by radiation is extremely low. And naturally, there's a 0% chance that there's any atomic dust in them. It's completely separate from tap water that way. Now that he mentioned it, Kazami had said earlier there was a chance that the water in the facility was contaminated by radiation. But that was tap water she'd been talking about, water that was openly exposed to that radiation. The water in the plastic bottles was, in theory, safe, just as Ukita had said. Then, isn't it okay for us to drink it, Tachibana? But if there's even the slightest chance that it isn't, just quit complaining already. Ina said that and snatched the plastic bottle out of Ukita's hands. Ina unscrewed the cap and took a giant swig of the water before Kazami even had time to stop her. But a second later, she started choking. Teach? Was there something bad in there? No. I just drank way too much too quickly. Some of it got stuck in my throat, that's all. The group all breathed a sigh of relief. Anyway, why did the rest of you join in? The taste is to die for. I never knew water could taste this good. Ina broke out into an entranced smile. This one caused more and more people to give in to their desires. Only cause. I'll have some too. Me too. With that, Ukita and Yuri suddenly snapped into action by taking their own plastic bottles and drinking them. Kazami let out a defeated shout. She'd probably realised that no fear or of internal exposure could keep them away from the allure of water. Sorry, Tachibana, but I'm gonna have some too. Me too. I suppose it can't be helped. Well, it does indeed seem safe. Kazami also caved in. In the end, everyone took a plastic bottle for themselves. They unscrewed the caps with trembling hands and drank away while being careful not to choke on it. Fresh water was soaking into Watase's parched throat. Even though the water was at room temperature, and therefore not cold at all, it was unbelievably tasty. I feel alive again. Yeah, it makes me want to cry tears of joy. Now that we've quenched our thirst, let's get back to talking about the search, shall we? Kazami said this in a slightly uncomfortable voice. The rest of the group all promptly nodded. We only found water in the outer ring, but what about the inner ring team? Zilch, just some medical ointment. So in the end, this block was a data. Everyone's shoulders slumped at Ina's comment. Come on guys, don't get so down in the dumps. Let's keep on searching. And let's go to B2 of this area. We'll use the emergency staircase to get down there. The group started walking again after finishing that discussion. But when they got to the staircase, Watase noticed something odd about the wall in front of it. Like hidden on the wall was a small plate that read, Emergency. Right below it was a keypad of sorts with 10 buttons labelled from 0 to 9. Hey, hold on a sec, guys. Huh? What do you think this is? The group turned to Watase and gathered around the keypad. Huh, what indeed? I don't know, maybe it's an emergency telephone line or something. Watase randomly pressed the buttons, but nothing happened. He didn't hear any dialing or anything. Now, if it's a phone, then it looks like it's broken, doesn't it? Guess that means every last communication device is wiped out. We shouldn't dwell on something that doesn't work. Let's go. Good point. Watase nodded and was about to walk off. But Yuri didn't budge an inch. She stared firmly at the emergency plate. Huh? Is something wrong, Yuri? Yuri turned around in surprise at Watase's voice. Something about it catch your eye? No, I'm just a little tired, that's all. Now that she mentioned it, Yuri's face is a little pale. You okay? Would you like to find a place to rest? Just as Watase asked that. What are you guys doing? I'm going on ahead, you know. Ina said that and entered the stairwell. Watase ignored her and spoke to Yuri in the kindest voice he could manage. Just hang in there. We'll be out of here before you know it. Okay. Her voice was frail, but she still obeyed Watase. Watase and Yuri headed towards the outer ring stairwell with the rest of the group, Ina already out of sight. The room was pitch black. You couldn't see Ina anymore. She must have already gone downstairs. And why is it so dark in here? It appears the fluorescent lights are dead. Please watch your step, people. The group obeyed and slowly descended the staircase, but when he made it just halfway... What's that? Watase felt a tremor at his feet and instinctively came to a halt. And right after that... Yeah. What's happening? The staircase is starting to lean. Everyone turn back, the staircase is collapsing. Run, hurry! But Ina flashed through Watase's mind at that moment. Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this one up here. Because we did it. We're over 30 minutes. And this one could get me killed again. And almost certainly will get me killed again. So we'll deal with this next time. Till then, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.